I'd now like to ask our first keynote speaker to come forward, Professor Dr. Ergil, Chairman of the Department of Political Behavior at Ankara University.
Good morning, first of all. After looking at the text that I presented as part of this conference, people will be reading it anyway. So I should be delivering a different thing for food for thought. And as our lady chairman said, listening is important. But listening and understanding is more important. Looking and seeing is important, but grasping what is seen is, I think, more important. So I hope we do both in this dialogue, let's say, as the previous speaker said, while it's a challenge to understand each other. Well, it is particularly a pleasure to be a part of the meeting organized by dedicated young women and men who want to make a difference in a world that's not their making. I like the difference they want to make, trying to understand the other, to build and share a common future, to build a safer and peaceful world based on shared values while respecting differences. The Gülen Movement was born at a time when rapid social change was taking place in Turkey. However, at the same time, a parallel movement was taking place in the world. The emergence of political Islam or politicization of Islam in response to globalization. What was transpiring in Turkey at the time was rapid urbanization, class differentiation, and cultural shifts or dislocations. Masses of people from villages and small towns were flocking the cities that needed alternative frames of reference. They needed to strike a balance between the traditional values that they were socialized in and values and behavioral patterns that would help them to navigate through the challenges of modern city life. Fethullah Gülen offered them this balance, neither praising traditionalism nor condemning modernity, as many Islamic currents of the day did. Fethullah Gülen was always reluctant in adopting a unidimensional approach to the understanding of social reality and management of social life. For example, he rejected uncontrolled power of the state over the society as well as the individual. He was a firm believer in human evolution and individual choice. This meant empowerment of the individual as well as the civil society. The Gülen community started and developed as a civic movement. The reason why it has grown so rapidly and so large is because of its civic, meaning voluntary character. Secondly, it empowers its adherents through a system of solidarity and collaboration. This is a socio-psychological haven in which individuals feel their soulmates and future partners. They grow a sense of belonging to a worthy group that protects and supports them. Through mutual economic enterprise, they help each other by engaging in common ventures. Through education, not only they rise up on the social ladder, but become international actors. National first and then international actors. Through international activities and networks, they form or partake. The members of the Gülen Movement try to influence international affairs. They try to mitigate between beliefs and belief groups, hence reduce tensions. They try to emphasize common values and principles among religions, thus bring out similarities rather than differences. They believe that by emphasizing that is human and universal, the human and the universal will triumph over particularism. The Gülen movement allocates considerable time and effort to diffuse the wrath of downtrodden Islamic masses against modernity and the West that they see as the main culprits of their colonization, underdevelopment, and victimization. In order to dry out this infectious swamp of negative feelings, Gülen proposes two things. A healthy blend of religion and science that will meet the needs of the soul and the mind simultaneously. And secondly, purifying Islam from the historical and cultural baggage full of superstition, anger, and violence, because it has been infested with politics and has become an instrument of power struggle within Muslim countries in the history and presently. Political Islam denies the apolitical character of religion. For Gülen, politicized Islam is a political project rather than faith. It is totalistic and it has an anti-democratic program of its own in shaping all aspects of social life. However, Gülen does not accept this totalitarian understanding of religion. For him, Islam's statements about politics and state does not exceed 3 to 5% of its teachings. And these are general principles about good governance. For Gülen, there is to be an Islamic, if there is to be an Islamic identity, it has to be constructive, meaning based on achievement, adaptive creativity, and peacefulness. However, in most Muslim countries, the Islamic identity is based on rejection of modernity and Western values and institutions, including sometimes democracy, pluralism, and this rupture with Western civilization and failure to create its own civilization in modern times not only has brought clash of values, but also prevented the amalgamation or blending of civilizations, which Islam, especially its Turkish version meaning Islam as perceived and practiced in Turkey, could contribute a lot. Gülen sees this amalgamation as the dawning of an Islamic renaissance, as well as a world built on interfaith peace. Now, a few sentences about some particularities of Turkey. Turkey is claimed to be a nation state. However, it resembles a state nation, where the state owns both the nation and the homeland as it's written in the Turkish constitution. Hence, the state controls all vestiges of life and behavior of its citizens. That's why all opposition to this totalistic control of the individual and the collectivity has been directed to overthrowing the authoritarian system rather than democratizing it and reconstructing a new one, or constructing a new one. The Turkish left is so, and the Turkish rebellion has started with this mentality. But Fethullah Gülen has chosen a peaceful way to transform the authoritarian system through dialogue, deliberation, education, participation, economic enterprise, and civic organization, meaning building solidarity networks. Here, empowering this means empowering the civil society. This means peaceful transformation. These are instruments or methods of peaceful transformation. If the definition of a revolution, political science, is to alter the social and economic structure of a political system, it may be done forcefully, as has happened more than once in history, or peacefully, as Gülen suggests. And his community of followers do, or try to do, by changing themselves, starting change within, and then projecting that change to the society at large. This is quite different than the adopted Kemalist system, which has accepted revolution from above, which has acted, which has influenced perhaps the city folk, which was about 20% of the society at the time, but has not penetrated into the countryside. And the Gülen movement has been more influential on the countryside that's no more in the countryside, but now living in the cities and having a great influence in shaping up the political scene and the economic scene of present Turkey. This is a revolution from below, which has never been witnessed in Turkish history. Well, let's see whether this yeast fertilizes the whole society or not. Finally, the social aspect of ethics is law. Its individual aspect is conscience. If laws are insufficient to build a healthy society or healthy public order based on justice and smooth social relations, conscience compensates for law. The main source of conscience is religion. Hence, its peaceful and constructive interpretation as a guide to human behavior is very important. Gülen wants to make sure that law that reflects social consensus and universal standards of justice is matched up with conscience that is nurtured by religious principles of fair and good conduct. So be it. That's all.